Color Space Studio has thought of a really cool idea. What if the shadows that scare children were real? But not only are they real, they hide in plain sight. In the Shadows is a puzzle platformer that answers this by turning the shadows into useful items for solving puzzles you come across. It's a really special mechanic. Need a bounce pad? Turn a shadow into one, and now you can get to a higher platform and reach the exit. How about a ladder? The game really shines when you need to get the shadow creatures to interact. Set up the bouncy creature to get the ladder creature to use it to propel himself to where you need him. The mechanic is awesome because you need to consider which way the creatures will walk and what they will turn into to create the setup you need. It requires a lot more thinking than moving the objects yourself. The game is built entirely around the shadow creatures. Further into the game, there are more complicated ones that turn into doors, bridges, and bombs. Most of the game is flipping light switches or moving blocks that emanate light in the correct order to set up the level. Makes sense since the game is about shadows, right? It's way more about manipulating the shadow creatures than making any of the jumps on your own. There are level mechanics that sometimes have players going through doors to access different parts of the level or going into a shadow realm. The game is also very forgiving, and if you make a mistake, it places you back on the last platform you were on. That said, the puzzles are difficult. They take time to figure out and get just right. It's all about getting the setup the developers had in mind for the puzzle. There is a pacing problem here. I think the game starts off too slow. The first set of 9 levels doesn't introduce new mechanics fast enough to keep it interesting. I made it through that, and the second area is much more interesting and intricate. It's a difficult balance introducing new concepts and making sure the player has a firm grasp to what has already been played. The game starts with just the jump creature, and I can see how that makes sense, but it's also the most boring. I might have put creatures into the level that were not required to complete it, just to introduce them sooner, or give the player a ladder in light and then later show them they were actually using a shadow creature. Keep the player guessing as to what could show up next. Other mechanics only show up once in a level and then never again. It's strange. Another thing that bothered me about this game is that the controls are not precise. Some of the jumps needed to be perfect, like standing right on the edge and jump to make it to the next platform. There are other instances that a close jump isn't good enough, and I'm not talking about the gap between the jump. In my opinion, it looked like I made the jump, but it just didn't land. I don't know how else to explain it, but it's frustrating. The controls are a little slow and cumbersome, which doesn't make sense since it's not a super precise platformer. Give me a little leeway when setting up these puzzles, please. Ladders are a little weird too, and don't let you stand on the top, which I guess could break some puzzles, but the ladder isn't in the right place, so you might have to redo the puzzle. The ladder needs to be under the platform so you can stand on it. Here's a trick I found though: if you climb up most of the way up the ladder and then jump to the platform, it works. Just don't go all the way to the top of the ladder. Just let you stand on the ladders. Anyway, one thing that is for sure is that the graphics are quite good. It's actually not pixel art. They're voxels, like Minecraft. So it's a 3-dimensional model shown as flat, but this allows the lighting effects to look as cool as they do. It's a very neat idea and absolutely paid off. All the levels are very colorful, the shadow creatures look visually interesting, and like I said, the lighting effects make the game look beautiful. Some of the outdoor sections are awesome when the light and shadows are moving in step with you. I would say some of these could be a desktop wallpaper. I think they're that good. The scenes, they're so good. I like them. Alas, I said a lot of negative things about the game, and to be honest, I'm really confused about In the Shadows. It's a game with an interesting mechanic that looks great, but I have no interest in finishing it. This might be a case of it's not for me, but I figured I would let the viewers decide for themselves. I think if you could get into collecting all the stars and you really love puzzle platformers, then this could be something you want to pick up. It's not a bad game at all, it just didn't grip me the way a lot of other games do.
Hey, thanks for watching. Next to my head is another video about fighting games I found. It's not for me, but it's a video I watched that I thought was really entertaining and gave a really interesting idea about fighting games and like how simple or complex they could be, and just what people are doing around that area. Just really interesting. Check it out if you like fighting games at all. Maybe if you don't, it still might be interesting. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.